Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to Scott Family Homestead. We have our new meat birds here today. 125 Cornish cross chickens, baby chickens just arrived. So we're gonna get them set up in the brooder. We've got our Delawares out here. They did great last night. We got down to about 30, 32, 33. Have a little tarp on the outside, a couple heaters in there. They did great, but now it's time to get the Cornish cross in the garage. So let's show you how we do that. All right, so here they are, 125 Cornish cross chicks. Got 100 in the box in the bottom, 25 in this box up here. We're gonna get them opened up. We've got their brooder set up and is heating up. We've got one heat lamp and one heat panel. And we'll probably add one more heat panel. It's going to be another cool night tonight, so we want to make sure they stay nice and warm. We've got a feeder and a water set up here. We've got a custom bag of mixed feed here. So we've got a feeder and a water here that we're going to get filled up. Our bag of custom mix chicken feed is going to go in that barrel. So that's right here next to the chickens all the time. And we'll get them set up in their new home. All right, let's talk about this custom feed that we get made at our local feed mill. All we do is we go in and we say, hey, we're looking for some grower feed for our chickens. We tell them about what percentage we want of protein, and we usually ask for 22%. Then he goes in, does all the calculations, figures out what needs to be mixed in it, and then grinds it up into this kind of powdery mash. And that's what we end up feeding for the first probably 3 weeks. We'll feed them this. This is a 22% grower mash. We'll feed them this for about 3 weeks and then switch them to a little bit lower protein, like an 18 to 20%. So we've got this high protein, we feed them for a few weeks, and then we'll lower that down to about 18 to 20%. That's the last portion of their growth. So we want them to grow really fast when they're little. That kind of like establishes the baseline for as they grow, and then we finish them off on a lower protein so that they don't get the heart issues that they can get when they grow so fast. So that's our plan. We've got 1,000 pounds of this in the feed shed. This is a 100-pound bag. You can get these bagged up in smaller bags if you ask for it. But they like to do this in 100-pound bags, and we always put it in the bins anyway. It doesn't make a lot of difference to us on this. So we'll get this put into the bin, and then we'll get a feeder full of it so that these chickens have some stuff to eat when they go in the brooder. Just a minute, we'll put that, Dad's gonna dump this into that bin, and then we can use the scooper in there, okay? There you go. Can you scoop in there? Yeah. Okay. You see the chicken? You can put it right here. Right in their feeder. Yep. Thank you, Savvy. While you do that, I'll start opening up the boxes here to make sure they're all doing okay. Oh, that's right, Savvy. Thank you. Thank you. All right, this is the box of 25. Looks like they're doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. We got, I think, it looks like about 2 of them in there didn't make it. Sometimes they kind of clump up in there, and it's hard to see the rest, but I think pretty good for being in the mail. We're always a little bit hesitant to order anywhere that's not local because then they get shipped in the mail and they can get stuck. We expected them to be here yesterday, but I checked the tracking. They're stuck in St. Paul at the distribution center there, and they weren't moving for like an entire day. They sat there. And chickens are pretty good. They can go, they say like 2 to 3 days before they have their first meal. This would be 3 days. So we're a little bit worried about them. Let's check out this big box here. Look pretty good. Yeah, chickens. So it's kind of hard to tell because they clump up to stay warm. And it did get pretty cold last night. Being on this concrete floor is not helping. I don't see any that didn't make it, which is excellent. As we start to go through, we might find some that are not doing as well. But kind of the nature of the beast with mail order chickens is that it you expect a little bit of loss. So I'm gonna grab some water. We'll get some electrolytes in there in case there's any that aren't doing as well. And we'll put the feed in the water in the brooder here, and we'll start to. Thank you, Savvy. We'll start to get them unloaded into the heat so they can stay warm. All right, so we have water here filled with water. It's a 1 gallon water, and that's important to know because this electrolyte that we have, it's a Purina electrolyte and antioxidant supplement. So we give our baby chicks these for just extra energy and vitamins and the electrolytes that they need to stay vigorous and start eating and drinking on their own. So it's a little bit of a jumpstart pack. And it says to put 1 packet in with a gallon of water. So perfect size for this. We'll just put the whole packet in there. Doing a great job, Savvy. So let's take this, dump it in the water. It turns it a pretty color orange so that it's easy to tell which waters have the electrolyte in them, which don't. I'm just using my finger here, giving it a quick swirl. And then we'll close this cap up. I'll flip that over. And there we go. Water with electrolyte in it. And I'll set this into the brooder. And one thing that I will recommend that anybody does, if you have a brooder like this, we've got maybe 4 inches, probably about 4 inches, some places a little bit more, of just bedding to keep them up off the concrete. And I put a spare tile that we have, and you can use anything, use cardboard, anything that just spreads the weight out of the water and keeps it up on top of the shavings. You don't want it too high so the chickens can't get it. You want it high enough that it's not going to get all the shavings kicked into it. So we just have a spare tile that seems to work really well. Oh, you did it, Savvy. Thank you. And then the feeder we'll put in here. And we'll start to get these chickens in here. Okay, so we take these birds, dip their beak in the water quick so they realize that's where it's at. And then we always try to count these two to make sure that they're okay. Yes, Savvy. They do love water. All right. There's 3, 4. So it's 24 chickens in there. They packed in 26. We had 2 that didn't make the trip. So 24. And I think that's fairly good. One thing with this water you do need to be careful with is that they can fall in there, and sometimes they get stuck. So we're just kind of watching them, pulling them out of that water if we need to. Let's get the big box started. Well, what? Yeah. 1. So that one section of the bigger box had 26. This one is a little bit smaller. It's not looking super like he hasn't gotten up and walking around at all. He's just kind of laying there. So we're gonna dip his beak a couple times, let him get that electrolyte, and hopefully that kind of jump starts everything so that he does well. Yeah. So you see, he got a couple drips of it, and we're just kind of put him down. I'll put him here underneath the heat. See if he bounces back. One thing that I wanted to say too is that we've tried using warm water in the water for their first time, just to like keep them warm. It does get really cold here in Wisconsin and northern Wisconsin, so we try to do everything we can to keep them warm. We tried warm water, and what they did is they liked that warmth so much that they would huddle in the water, and then they were super wet, and then they would get cold. And we actually found that was a worse situation than if they just had cool water. It doesn't have to be like tap cold water, but keep it on the cool side so they don't huddle in there and try to get warm in the water. So right now you can see they're starting to get underneath this heat lamp and huddle up a little bit to stay warm, which is great. So we're just going to keep watching them and see how it goes. So I'm going to keep counting these. What I usually do, now that I have this box, one square empty, I'm going to move everybody into this one and count them, and then move all these into that one and count them, because if I lose track and they're in there, it's very hard to count them again. So I'm going to count them, see where we're at in this box. Right now, because we had 24 in one and 26 in the other, we're right at 50. So that's good. It's perfect. We'll count the rest of these and see where we're at. Okay, so we have 26 in each of these 3. We had 26 in the other one as well, so they sent 4 extra chickens in here. And we haven't had any losses in this big box, so that's awesome. We did lose the 2 in the small box, so we're still up 2. We ordered 125, we have 127. So we'll do everything we can to keep 127 alive. I think typically we expect somewhere between 10 and 20% loss with these guys, especially ordering through the mail. So we're doing good right now, and we'll just keep an eye on them, make sure they have all the food and water they need, and yeah, try to keep 127 of them alive and ready for butcher. All right, I'm gonna get these loaded in here, and then we'll be ready to go. We'll just watch them from there. Probably in about 2 or 3 days, we're gonna send these guys into our brooder room, which we have in the barn. Right now they're in the garage. We're gonna put space heaters. We can have these heat lamps on there. In the barn, we don't like to have the heat lamp. We use just the panels. But with everybody needing heat right now, we're short on that. So we want to get them in the garage where we can monitor the heat a little bit. Like I said, about 2 or 3 days, we'll move them out to the barn into our brooder room. So let's get these guys unloaded, get their beak stripped, and then we'll be good to go. So I just have 26 left to go in there. Doing things a little bit differently than last year. Last year we did 4 batches of 50 birds, and we ended up buying 60 birds at a time, expecting that we would probably end up with about 50 that went to butcher. And that held true. But we did have some loss, and our growth rates were not that great. What we usually expect is 8 to 9 weeks. We would have around a 5 to 6 pound bird. And ours came back a little bit on the smaller side. And so what we wanted to do, we wanted to try to change things a little bit this year. Number one, we're doing a larger batch later in the spring. So we're not starting them as early, hoping that we'll kind of miss a lot of the cooler weather. It was about 80 degrees here the other day, which is kind of abnormally high. And last night it was about 32, a little bit of frost, not abnormal for this time of year. But given the weather that we had before that, it was a little bit unexpected. We're doing larger batches of chickens in the heat of the summer so that we can maximize the time in the better weather time frame. So hopefully that will help with our growth rates. What we found was that the early spring batch and the late fall batch didn't grow as well. The middle of the summer we had about 100 birds in those 2 batches of 50 that did pretty good. And then the ones in the kind of the shoulder seasons there, they didn't grow as well. So we're hoping we get 100 birds now and then 100 birds in about 10 weeks. We can maximize the time in the warm summer days. So that's kind of our plan of doing more birds in a shorter period of time. We also changed our hatchery that we ordered these from, which is why we got them through the mail this year instead of locally, just to see if the different strain of genetics allows them to grow a little faster. We'll kind of see how that works. And we might go back to ordering locally again if needed. And then the feed, we're starting them out on 22% protein in this early time frame, and then we'll kind of dial it back a little bit to 18 to 20%. And I think that'll go good. So a little bit of an experimental year, trying to figure out how we can get the most growth, the shortest amount of time, and maximize our short summers here in Wisconsin. All right, let's get the rest of these chickens in the brooder here. In this small brooder that we have, we'll get them moved out to the barn in a couple days. I think I'm going to lower that panel down a little bit. They're kind of finding out that there's some heat under there they like. So our goal now is keep them warm, keep them comfortable, keep them fed and watered. And we'll see what kind of a batch we end up with. All right. Thank you guys for coming to hang out with me today. Hopefully everything does good. We'll keep everybody posted on how this batch goes. We'll keep everybody posted on how this batch goes and what we learn along the way. So stay tuned, and we'll catch you next time. Bye, guys.